All right, one more just quick thought with Jeremy Yates here on the broad spectrum swing. I mean, in this session here, and I forgot to put this on the previous video, he swings at a lot of low and high pitches. I really love his swing as a lefty. He does some things that he has to reroute the bat a lot. But look at this glide step. I mean, you talk about not having a huge leg kick and a lot of motion. I mean, he's barely getting his foot off of the ground. I mean, if you're trying to just stand in place and lift your foot up and down and have a huge leg kick and a hand cock. I mean, just look at Ryan Harvey, look at Jeremy Yates. I mean, he's just glide stepping forward. As he comes and his front foot's about to land, his hands are all the way back. Now, yeah, he has to reroute the bat a lot here, but his hands are back, and he keeps them extremely high. So anybody that keeps them chest high or higher, watch how aggressive of an angle he has to take his hands here. This angle, this ball is going to be down somewhere in here. I would call it waist high. He's taking these hands on an angle like this. Now, they only can go so far on an angle like that, and then the rotation and the fact that we actually want to hit the ball up in the air, eventually they have to come up. But that's not a loop. We're talking about the first path here is a straight line on a downward angle. If he tries to just swing level or slightly down like we talked earlier, Frank Henry's swing, who's level to slightly down with the hands across a lot on the balls. If we try to attack this same ball like that, we're going to be way up over the top of it. Look at this aggressive angle. He's rotating, keeping the upper body back, and doing this all within the rotation. So don't forget that. Don't think that I'm telling you to take your hands and throw them on a straight line down, because you've seen that above view that we took with the drone. It's all within the rotation, but it's just a matter of what you see on film. You got to take your hand path on a downward path within the rotation. Look at that downward path he's taking. He went from up here straight on an angle like that. Continues down to a certain point. Now they level off a little bit and then they'll come up. But this is what's setting that bat path, taking the bat down. Look at here. This bat is angled so that it can come up through. It's going to continue to rotate around. If you're looking from an above view, it's going to rotate around, and eventually it's going to hit the ball and hit it up in the air. But he takes his hands and continues them down. He doesn't roll the wrists over early. He's still palm up, palm down. And see how this bat head didn't flip up or it didn't drop down. It continues along that same path, and he cuts the bottom part of the ball. And then shortly after contact, he'll get out to full extension out here. You can actually see how in his swing, he really holds that lead wrist off. I mean, so he doesn't roll over early at all. I mean, he actually maybe even rolls over late a little bit, but he still gets out to full extension there. He ends up finishing very high, which I don't always advocate, but on a lower pitch, when you attack it low like that, you're just going to have to finish high. I always say try to pretend like there's a rope going slightly up, and you try to swing along the rope with the bat head, but there's also a pane of glass neck high, and you don't want to break the pane of glass. Quite often will we break the pane of glass? Yeah, but it's a swing thought to have so that we're thinking more on a straight line. Let's take a look at a pitch later in the session here. So that's the very bottom spectrum. You see how he had to have his hands come down like that, and then let's see the next pitch here. Let's see where this is going to be. This looks like it's going to be a little bit more in the middle zone or higher. Yeah, this is coming a nice pitch right across the chest. You can already see, instead of having his hands moving on a path like this, his hands are going to move more on a path like this. Because his hands are always high, he's never going to actually take his hands on an upward path. He's going to maybe drop them down to here, and then on a higher pitch, as he rotates, the hands will drop and then come on an upward path. I shouldn't say drop, they will lower, because he has to lower them. But here it looks like it's going to be a straight across or a slight down hand path. Just look at the hands. Slightly down, slightly down, slightly down. They went from here on a slightly downward path. And look how he's snapping. That bat head's not dropping at all. Snap through, snap through. He's actually flipping up maybe a little bit too early. Is he going to catch the top part of this? Yeah, he does a little bit. Look at that. He gets out to full extension. So maybe he had a little bit too much of an up angle focus there. But that's because he's making an adjustment. So let's say that was a hit in the game, and the next one, the next at bat, he has to hit a home run, because he's got people on base and the game's on the line. Let's see if he makes an adjustment here. Here's a pitch that's even higher. Now, before he was up over the top a little bit too much. Now he's almost got to think a little bit less up through. Still want to be up through on this with the hands, but a little bit less. Let's see what he has to do with his hands, because he obviously can't take his hands across his face. They drop down a little bit just within the rotation, and look, he's taking them from here. So I don't count this as a downward movement with him because he starts with his hands so high. We're starting right here about neck high or chest high or shoulder high, and watch how they'll move on a slight up path through this ball, slightly up. Well, actually they're pretty level there, aren't they? Even on a pitch this high, his hands are coming level across. So I mean, for me, my hands are a little bit lower than him. This would be a slight up path. For him, he'd almost have to get a pitch that's about head high before he would have to come up through. But look at how he made contact with that. I mean, he just rotates and takes his hands on a I would say his focus is slightly up through or really up through on this ball, but his hand path is only coming through level, and then boom, out to full extension there. So that's really the ultimate spectrum there, from way low down to really high. Boom, there's a ball that's about chest high that he gets up through a little bit too much, hits a topspin. And then let's take a look here. Here's a ball that the next pitch comes in. It looks like it's a little bit lower. He's got to go down and get it. Look at that. He went down with the hands and actually underspun that, which is just a great way to adjust. It's all about adjustments and getting that broad spectrum swing. Make sure you check out shirtsandlogos.com. That's where you get all the great full dye uniforms. Just a phenomenal. These guys are great. Make sure you check them out. And then obviously DeMarini. We use DeMarini product because we think it's the best. We play a lot of ASA. Definitely check out the ASA bats, and then they have the U-Trip bats as well. All the new ones are starting to come out, the new Dale Brungarts and the Nautilus format. Obviously, if you've swung these, you know how phenomenal they are. And really the ASA bats, because that's what we play a lot and use the 52 core balls. The ASA bats are just phenomenal, and if you are playing somewhere with a little bit higher compression ball, oh man, I mean those bats are really crazy. They will break a little bit sooner when you use higher compression balls, but that's just all part of it, They break in faster, and they're just much hotter. So check out DeMarini and our affiliates here, and thanks for checking out the channel. We'll come back with some more content down the road. Thank you.